Top 3 places you can't go and people who went anyways. Part 9 by Mrballen. What's good? How you day going? Morning, evening, night. Whenever watching this video, I ain't gonna talk your ears off. Not gonna do a long intro here. I do want to talk about this description though, which is basically the freaking videos. This third story, which is technically the first story we're gonna hear though. Live stream, man climbs Mount Fuji in the winter. Now that one, I could be wrong, but then we see something about this. I want to say in like a fact video, maybe in someone else's channel, whatever. But regardless, it's a damn volcano, right? And just because it's winter does not mean it's probably just spoiled it for you. Regardless, let's go ahead and check out this video. Yo, you want to check out the original video? Link will be in the description below, but let's go.
I've covered a lot of cave diving stories on this channel, and today is no different. I'm going to cover another one. In fact, it's our top story today, but it's unique. There's not another cave diving story like it, and it might just be the scariest situation you could ever be in. But before we get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all we do, and we upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please offer the like button a bag of pistachios after you have meticulously removed all of the pistachios that can be opened, and you only leave in the bag the ones that are complete. Only ones in the bag are completely sealed. Only ones left in the bag are completely sealed up. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications
are hard as hell to get into,
any of our
dog.
weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories.
I gotta mute this copyright. I tried biting one day, it legit for like, I was like, let me stop before I break my damn tooth, dog. The almost are hella hard to get. Oh, my bad. Hey, that was a good one.
Mount Fuji is the highest mountain in Japan, rising up to 3,776 meters, and it's actually a volcano. It's dormant. The last time it erupted was in 1707, but geologists still classify it as active. Tourists are allowed to climb Mount Fuji, but only between July and September, because in the winter months, the mountain gets completely treacherous. There's snow and ice, and the wind picks up. It's very, very dangerous, so it's off limits. Now, thrill seekers, if they really wanted to, they could climb Mount Fuji in the winter, because there isn't a security guard posted up at the bottom of Mount Fuji checking people in and out. It's on you. If you want to climb it when it's off limits, well, then you're climbing at your own risk, because basically it's a terrible idea. But if you have the right equipment and you have all the right training, it is doable. One thrill seeker, a 47-year-old named Tetsu, decided he wanted to hike Mount Fuji in the winter of 2019. He wanted to live stream his entire journey to the summit. Now, Tetsu might have been a thrill seeker, but he certainly wasn't a mountain climber. He did not have the experience, nor did he have any of the equipment necessary for a climb up Mount Fuji.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of solidifying what I'm thinking here. You want to get to the summit. You want to get to the top of Mount Fuji with no experience, huh? Because at first I was like, okay, is this person? Just assuming, because I don't know this person's backstory. I don't know what they did normally on their streams or whatever. But just from what I get from this story, only thing I can wonder at this moment is, was this person really a thrill seeker, or was this some shit where it was like, all right, no, I'm just want to turn the camera on and just do this for some views?
Did not have the experience, nor did he have any of the equipment necessary for a climb up Mount Fuji in the winter. Wearing only street clothes and carrying nothing more than climbing poles and his smartphone, he turned on his live stream and he began hiking up the Shubashiri Trail. Viewers began tuning in as Tetsu happily made his way up this ash-covered trail, and then the ash turned into light snow, and then light snow turned into really heavy snow and ice and wind, and then Tetsu began complaining about how cold he was and how he couldn't feel his hands, and his viewers are egging him on to, keep going, keep pushing through it, and probably because of the pressure he felt from his viewers, he kept going when really this would have been the moment to turn around.
You could unsubscribe, because boy, trust me, believe me, oh, they there just watching. Because people want to see shit show, blah. Last stop, my bad. Remember the video we got with the guy who, and this was back dummy long ago, I don't remember what year, but it was freaking centuries ago. But either way it go though, right, if I'm correct. But basically the dude who wanted to, he legit sounded like he was a thrill seeker. I'm not gonna lie. He wanted to jump off the bridge or whatever. Remember, he fooled the cops and they thought he was gonna be on one bridge, but he ended up being on the other bridge. Whatever though. But regardless, people are going to tune in. They're going to watch. Now, the ones who are egging it on, like keep going, you can do it. That's BS. But the ones who are watching it, like, yo, you don't see this huge mistake you're making by not respecting nature. All right, shit. I'm gonna see what's gonna happen.
Keep going, keep pushing through it, and probably because of the pressure he felt from his viewers, he kept going when really this would have been the moment to turn around. When you're realizing that you don't have the right equipment and it's getting really cold and you're probably not even halfway up, that's the time to turn around, but he didn't.
I can tell you time before that.
As he moved up the mountain, the path he was on continued to narrow and become increasingly more covered in ice. And the guard fence that straddled the side of this path was getting to the place where it comes to a stop, signaling the most dangerous section of the hike, which is the last leg up to the summit. He gets to that point where the fence comes to an end, and now he's on this narrow stretch where the wind is just whipping across and it's all ice. And he's trying to walk across the ice with this totally inappropriate footwear. He should have had on at least crampons, the metal spikes that go on the bottom of your shoe to grip ice. He just had tennis shoes on, and so he's slipping and sliding as he's walking up this icy trail, and then he finally staggers and falls, but he catches himself. And you can hear him laughing on the live stream, joking with his audience how dangerous and slippery it is. And his viewers begin to change their tone a little bit, and they're like, hey, you might want to consider turning around now. But Tetsu is totally focused on getting to the top. So he stands back up and he continues to kind of shuffle his way towards the summit on this stretch of ice. He finally gets right up below the summit to where on his live stream you can actually see the top of Mount Fuji. And you can tell that his footwear at this point is basically not able to handle how slick it is. He's basically constantly stumbling. And you can see he notices a little stretch of small rocks that seem to almost make stepping stones up to the summit. And he begins walking over very carefully on the ice to try to use these rocks to get himself up to the top. And right as he's trying to step for one of these rocks, he loses his balance. And on camera, he says, wait, I'm slipping. And then he falls and begins rocketing down the side of this mountain. Now, when you fall on a steep mountain, you have one, maybe two chances to self-arrest. So, for example, if you had an ice pick and you were like Tetsu and you start falling, you would want to roll over and dig the head of that ice pick into the ground and basically anchor your knees and elbows and drive everything you can into the snow to stop yourself from falling. And so if you can't do that...
See, I didn't even know that's what you have to do. This is why you don't go into this shit like playing with this when you don't have any experience, man. We'll talk at the end. I'm gonna let it finish. What?
Everything you can into the snow to stop yourself from falling. And so if you can't do that in 1 or 2 attempts, your momentum will pick up and you'll be going too fast and you won't be able to stop yourself. And then you just gotta hope you survive the fall. Tetsu did not have an ice pick or any other tool to help him self-arrest, and he didn't have the training for what to do in a situation like this, so he didn't even attempt to roll over and dig his elbows or knees into the ground to try to slow down. So he just goes flying down the mountain, he's on his back, he's not slowing down, and he knows he's doomed. And he says on camera, well, it can't be helped, before he flies over the edge and falls hundreds of meters down to his death. Damn. His viewers who watched this happen alerted authorities who found his body the next day over 1,000 meters away from where he had first fallen. Unfortunately, every year there is a handful of people that attempt to climb Mount Fuji in the winter, and they meet the same fate.
Yeah. All right, so we got some ads real quick. Got a reason to talk your ear off real quick. But one thing I am starting to notice, and hopefully the last video on this video, hopefully the last video on this compilation, don't prove me wrong, put my feet all in my mouth. But it seems like when it comes to people doing things that involve nature, I got the most respect for divers. It seems like divers are the ones who follow the rules so much, and then you end up feeling so bad because they'll still end up getting effed over on some shit like, well, damn, they was doing the shit right, but it just didn't go right. Don't get me wrong. I know some stories we got where people were not following the rules. I know that, but a good amount of them. When it comes to these hiking stories, when it comes to these freaking camping stories, you get so many of these are long ads. They're still playing. You get so many of them where it's like, just follow the fucking rules. A little bit. At least be underprepared. At least that means you are prepared. Shit. Somewhat. Well, shit, I mean, I learned something new. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Unfortunately, every year there is a handful of people that attempt to climb Mount Fuji in the winter, and they meet the same fate.
Rest in peace.
On May 2nd, 2000, at approximately midnight Eastern Standard Time, the US government discontinued its use of selective availability. Selective availability was the intentional degradation of public GPS signals. It guaranteed that civilian GPS users would not be able to pinpoint locations on a map using their GPS. They could get to within maybe 50 to 100 meters, but that was the best they could do. Prior to the year 2000, there was some concern that if you gave the general public the ability to use GPS to precisely locate things on a map, that presented an elevated national security risk. But that line of thinking became antiquated, and so on May 2nd, just after midnight, the so-called Great Blue Switch, as GPS enthusiasts refer to it, was flipped, and instantly tens of thousands of GPS receivers received this incredible upgrade. People who were following this development were eager to test out this new capability, and one such GPS enthusiast, a guy named Dave Ulmer who lived in Oregon, decided he wanted to create a sort of GPS treasure hunt. So he got this box, and inside of it he put a notebook and a pen, and he brought it out to the middle of the woods in Oregon.
Sounds like, could be wrong, the first Randonautica, huh?
Box, and inside of it he put a notebook and a pen, and he brought it out to the middle of the woods in Oregon, and he got the precise GPS coordinates of where he put it. And he took those coordinates and he went to an online forum and he posted the coordinates and he said, go to these coordinates, and when you get there, if you find what you're looking for, there'll be a notebook. Record yourself in the notebook, and I'll be out there to check who's done this. And if your name's in there, I'll give you credit on this forum. And so this treasure hunt went viral, and lots of people all over the world thought it was a really cool idea to use this new GPS technology to create treasure hunts all over the world. So people started hiding not just treasure chests with notebooks, but all sorts of random things all over the world, and then posting their coordinates online for people to find. This activity was given a name, geocaching, and it's alive and well today, and it's streamlined on the official geocaching app. But as geocaching has evolved over the years, so too has the level of difficulty at finding some of these caches. Sometimes it requires geocachers to climb mountains, other times it requires them to dive underwater, and in one case, geocachers in the Czech Republic had to climb into this strictly off-limits 5-kilometer long underground tunnel where the only two entry points were on the two extreme ends. And to get to the geocache...
Damn, and what sucks, because it may be just me, but in my head, I will be thinking, at least at this time, because right now with Randonautica, look, first day I knew, like, hell no, F that. People crazy now. People been crazy. But still, though, back then, I would picture that I would be thinking, like, yo, the more dangerous, the more awarding the prize is going to be. More rewarding the prize is going to be. Then you get down there and ain't shit down there with some dookie. Like, nigga, you had me going this motherfucker. Whole time it was a nigga who dropped his keys and he just needs somebody to get them mug. Hey, dog, you down there? I said, you down there, get my shit, bro. Ooh, look at the winner, y'all. He done found my keys. Appreciate that shit.
Other times it requires them to dive underwater. And in one case, geocachers in the Czech Republic had to climb into this strictly off-limits 5-kilometer long underground tunnel where the only two entry points were on the two extreme ends. And to get to the geocache, you had to go to the middle of the tunnel. And of course, periodically, this tunnel completely floods. On June 9th, 2018, 4 geocachers in the Czech Republic decided, you know what, we're going to go down into that tunnel and we're going to get that geocache. So they made their way over to the Metalski Brook Tunnel, which was one of the 2 entry points, and they climbed down inside. The reason this tunnel periodically floods is because rainwater gets dumped in there, and the second entry point is literally sitting in a lake. There is literally water sitting right up against the lip of this entry point. So even light rain will get the lake to rise just enough to where all the lake water pours into this tunnel. And so the day these 4 geocachers are going into this tunnel, the weather forecast called for torrential downpours, flash flooding, and either these 4 geocachers were not paying attention to the weather, or they somehow thought this wouldn't affect their ability to get this geocache. So these geocachers get down into the tunnel and they start making their way towards the center to collect.
But to be fair though, I mean, they obviously, I don't think they knew, not saying they in the right still some BS, but they didn't know it flood though. I take it that was found out after some shit.
So these geocachers get down into the tunnel and they start making their way towards the center to collect their prize when outside it starts pouring rain. It rained so much, so fast that the lake entrance started dumping tens of thousands of gallons of water in on one side, and then on the other side, where this other entrance was at the bottom of a hill, you had all this water rushing in. So it was like 2 huge waves of water crashing in on them. And in fact, the survivors would say, because they were right towards the middle of the tunnel, they heard what sounded like a car or like a train. It was getting closer and closer and closer. And that's when they realized it was 2 waves of water crashing in on them. In a panic, they turned and started running back towards the entrance they came in on. But as they're running, they're hit with this wave, and 2 of the geocachers got sucked underneath. and the other two were pushed up and were basically body surfing their way towards the lake entrance. And so as they're moving forward, the wave from the lake comes in and hits them, and now the water is dangerously close to the ceiling, and the two that have been pushed towards the lake entrance, they don't know what's happened to the other two, but they're just swimming as fast as they can towards the lake entrance. And they swam almost 2 kilometers in this tunnel as the water got higher and higher and higher, and they're barely able to breathe. By the end, they only had about a couple inches of clearance by the time they got to the lake, and they finally pop out and they get in the lake, and then luckily there was someone that saw them and brought their boat over and picked them up. As for their 2 friends, unfortunately, they didn't get out of there in time and they both drowned.
Yes. Oh, I take it he was just speaking on other survivors' experience. Okay, I thought they were just the first 4 to go down here. Shit. And just wondering, was it actually some shit down there, or was it someone legit who just made the spot up? Like, I'm just gonna send people down here. I don't know, because even if it was down there, I'm quite sure it wouldn't be in this location, because it sounds like if this ish floods, it floods badly.
Fortunately, they didn't get out of there in time and they both drowned.
Rest in peace. Into the heart.
There's an island off the coast of Croatia called Šolta. Only 19 kilometers long by 5 kilometers wide, this tiny island is a short ferry ride and an ideal day trip from Split, which is Croatia's 2nd biggest city. It's a hilly island with these beautiful pebble beaches and absolutely crystal clear water. It's a very popular tourist destination that's actually famous for its honey, as well as an underwater cave that kills virtually everyone who goes inside. On September 10th, 2002, 31-year-old Miroslav Kuklis was enjoying a vacation with friends on Šolta Island. It was a little after 8:30 in the evening when one of his friends suggested they go scuba diving. Because of its beautiful clear waters, Šolta Island is a very popular scuba diving destination. And so as such, scuba diving takes place really at all hours around Šolta Island, but the vast majority of it takes place in these safe little alcoves where it's not very deep and you can see fish and wildlife and it's very controlled. But Miroslav and his friends didn't want to do regular scuba diving. They wanted to check out the underwater cave they had heard about just south of Šolta Island in Poganica Bay. They had heard this cave was extremely dangerous and only expert divers were allowed to go in there. And even though they were not expert divers, they were barely novice divers, they thought, you know what, how bad can it be? Let's go check it out for ourselves. So they convinced one of the boat drivers to drive them out to the area in Poganica Bay that sat over where this cave entrance was. And so they put on their gear, they hop in his boat, they drive out, they jump in the water, and sure enough, right below the surface, about 10 meters down, is this hole on the sea floor, and that is the single entrance into this cave. When you go in this hole, you have to go down head first because it's so tight, and once you go down about 10 meters, you reach this junction, where to one side, it leads to the shallow gallery, which is the space that goes down to 36 meters, and there's no other caves or entrances or anything off of it. It's just kind of like a chasm inside of the cave. From the junction, if you go the other way, it brings you to the deep gallery, which is just a bigger version of the shallow gallery, and it goes down to 57 meters. Inside of the deep gallery, however, at the very top on the ceiling, there is a very thin air pocket. Now, there's a few reasons why this cave is so dangerous, beyond just being an underwater cave, which in and of itself is quite dangerous. The first one is the visibility inside of the cave is basically zero. The only light that comes in is through that single entrance that leads to that junction, but the light doesn't make it past the junction into the 2 galleries. So it is truly pitch black inside of those 2 galleries. You also have all this silt that's caked to the inside of the cave. So as soon as you get in there, your flippers and your movement, it kicks the silt off the wall and muddies the water around you to where even if you had a flashlight, it's like driving in fog. The lights only pick up the fog right in front of you. You can't see beyond the fog. Well, in a tunnel, you shine your light on silt and you're just gonna see the silt, not beyond it. So basically going into this cave, you're gonna be blindfolded. Another significant danger of being inside of this cave is after you've gone down to your respective gallery, whether it's the shallow or the deep gallery, when you're going back up again on your ascent and you're getting to that junction point, it is possible to confuse the other entrance to the other gallery with the exit to the cave. And so if you make that mistake and you go into the other gallery, remember, you're blind, you got silt kicked up, it's already dark, you need to, by touch, figure out you've made a mistake and then backtrack.
And only the big one got the air pocket
out the right way you came. And so if you're low on air and you make this mistake, you better hope you catch it fast enough that you can get out before your air runs out. So a little after 9:15 p.m., Miroslav goes in first, followed by his other two friends. Miroslav reaches the junction and he turns towards the deep gallery. He goes all the way down to 57 meters, he touches the bottom, he turns around, and he starts making his ascent. On the way up, he gets to the junction and he makes the critical mistake of going into the shallow gallery, believing that is the exit to the cave. He probably got in there, bumped his head, started feeling around, he's kicking up silt, he's starting to panic, he's looking for the way out again. He finds the exit to the junction, but instead of taking the exit out of the cave, he makes the same mistake again and goes into the deep gallery.
I knew it was coming.
And now he's in the deep gallery, he's feeling around, he's running low on air, and based on his dive computer, he was fumbling around in there for quite some time. And having spent some time underwater myself in the pitch black as a Navy SEAL, I can tell you that it's very easy to imagine, it'd be so easy to stay calm and have your bearings and know where you are. But when you are completely in total pitch black underwater, it actually is hard to tell what's up, what's down. You can feel the pressure in your ears. That's a good way to tell where you are in the water. But, realistically, it's totally possible to get completely disoriented underwater. And my guess is Miroslav was totally disoriented. And so he stopped and he's trying to make sense of what's happening. And at some point, Miroslav must have looked at his air gauge and realized, I'm out of air now. And he made one last push to try to get to the surface, but he hit a ceiling. And that's when he realized, based on maybe the touch and feel, maybe he took his gloves off and he was feeling around, he felt that he was in the air pocket, that thin amount of air that sat right at the top of the deep gallery. He must have realized at this point that there was so little air down here that he probably only had maybe a few minutes that he could be down here breathing before he was going to drown. And in terms of making his ascent to the surface on a breath hold, the only place where there's an air pocket is the deep gallery. And so probably he knew that. And so he's thinking, I'm, maybe 40, 50 meters under the surface right now, and I can barely catch my breath now. I'm not going to be able to hold my breath to the surface.
Where's his partners at?
And so staring down a certain horrific drowning death, he pulled out his dive knife and he plunged it into his heart. And when they did his autopsy later, it would show he did not drown. He died because he had a knife in his heart. Back on the surface, the other two divers had gotten out successfully and they're in the boat and they're waiting for Miroslav. But after over an hour went by and he hadn't surfaced, they contacted the police. The police show up and they send two special divers down into the cave to look for Miroslav.
Damn,
One of those
waited
divers
an hour.
was
And I don't know. Maybe that's if you're a diver. Maybe when it comes to that measurement, maybe that's a short. My bad. Maybe that's a short period of time. I don't know. But I would think with us being aware that this is really dangerous, if I'm up and then you come up, all right, and by like a couple minutes, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm like, yo, where dog get? But then again, though, like I said, though, I'm not a diver, so maybe that's a short measurement. Maybe that's like, yo, that's not that long. I don't know, man. Fuck. The reason why, because I ain't gonna lie, this one of those ones where I'm kind of torn. Don't get me wrong, I do want to blame them because they were aware of that. I do want to blame them. Don't get me wrong, it was their fault. But at the same time, it was I don't care what you say, dog. It was look, I think this one was just an adventurous mistake. I really do, man. Big fuck up. I know it was. I know you looking at me. I don't get me wrong. Being aware of like, all right, this is dangerous. AF. Don't do it. That right there, big enough to let you know, yeah, if you at this point, when you get past that point, it's all on you, dog. Stop looking at me like that, dog. You're on my fucking nerve.
went by
no more
and
stopping,
hadn't
dog.
surfaced, they contacted the police. The police show up and they send two special divers down into the cave to look for Miroslav. One of those divers was a 25-year-old named Oliver Marich. And so these two divers go down and they're looking for Miroslav and they can't find him and they're running out of air. And on their ascent, Oliver Marich makes the same mistake that Miroslav did and gets trapped inside of the shallow gallery. The other diver initially made that mistake but managed to get out again, but Oliver went back and forth.
Okay, now the reason why I'm about to blame, look, the reason why I'm a little pissed now is because now other people are going to get fucked up from your decisions now. That's bullshit, dog. Trying to save.
Because the other two divers had gotten out successfully and they're in the boat and they're waiting for Miroslav. But after over an hour went by and he hadn't surfaced, they contacted the police. The police show up and they send two special divers down into the cave to look for Miroslav. One of those divers was a 25-year-old named Oliver Marich. And so these two divers go down and they're looking for Miroslav and they can't find him and they're running out of air. And on their ascent, Oliver Maric makes the same mistake that Miroslav did and gets trapped inside of the shallow gallery. The other diver initially made that mistake but managed to get out again, but Oliver went back and forth between the deep and the shallow gallery until he too drowned in that cave. It would take 3 days for the police to find and remove Miroslav and Oliver from this cave. And to this day, the police warn divers not to go in this cave unless they're experienced enough to be going in there. But year after year, inexperienced divers try their luck inside of this cave and they make that same mistake. They get trapped and they die. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know.
Stop looking at me like that, dog. You was right. I hear you, dog. I hear you. You ain't gotta type that shit. Yeah, you right. So, what you up to, dog? What y'all been doing for Thanksgiving? What y'all niggas eat? Honestly, though, I don't know what it is about these damn diver stories that always hit me the freaking hardest, dude. Again, don't get me wrong. This one, yeah, I admit, yo, my foot was in my mouth. I'm sorry. This was beyond dangerous. This was hella crazy. The fact that an experienced diver had to go down there to try to rescue, and he was young at that too, and far more experienced, as we heard. And even the same ish happened to him, where it's like, oh, this is BS. And I'm sorry, that made so much sense when Mrballen was explaining that, like how you can become disoriented. That made so much sense to me, because I was like, yo, we legit played games as kids. I don't know if you've ever done this, but you'll do something to kind of cover someone's eyes, kind of spin them around a bit, and have them walk around. Not even that, just legit, if you close your eyes and get to doing things, even things that you normally do on a normal basis, like you will start catching yourself just being off a bit, like, yo, all right, I feel like this. And after a while, legit, because I ain't gonna lie, one time, not being funny, legit, one time I legit tried to put myself in the shoes of someone who couldn't see, and I was like, I'm gonna see how long throughout the day I'm gonna go without opening my eyes. Yo, that shit is fucking hard, dog. So many times when you think you're going in one direction, you're not, man. When you finally open your eyes and look, I ain't last that long, I ain't gonna lie, it was like 5 minutes. Yo, that shit was fucking hard. Definitely was not being funny. I'm being dead serious with your ass right now. But my apologies to anyone out there who's actually dealing with that shit. But regardless, though, like, yo, it's legit. You cannot maneuver this shit. But regardless, though, that one started to hurt once I started hearing, like, all right, now other people are getting involved, and damn, this is a young man, and not saying he didn't. Yes, yeah, he's younger. It's all about the youth. Stop playing. That's where the world is handed off to. Yes, it was more important shit. I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you. That's bullshit, man. But yo, I'm about to go ahead and get up out here. And definitely rest in peace to Oliver. Rest in peace to both of them. I'm not gonna lie to you, but definitely rest in peace to Oliver, man. I'm about to go ahead and get up out of here, though. Hey, go ahead, enjoy your day. Morning, evening, night. Whenever you watch this video. But I'm out.